This idea of lever building empowers you to take action and accountability in your own business. I'm not saying that there are no good marketing agencies out there. There are. But don't look to outsource the solution to a problem like this before addressing the low-hanging fruit. Be your own marketing agency first. Hey you, I'm Mark, husband of one, father of three, maker of puns, climber of trees, grower of businesses, pitcher of tents, occasional cutter of cheese, word nerd, and lover of families. Oh no. Oh no, not yet. No. Oh, here he comes. Where's my oar? Showed that cracking who's boss. At least until like 2 p.m. this afternoon. I think I'll be due for another attack by then. Let's jump into it. Hey, welcome to all of you bandits and chilies. This episode is called Put $1 in, Get $15 Out, Lever Building. So, right off the top, a lot of this episode is Joshua Latimer inspired, and so I have to start with a disclaimer that as an Australian, we say lever, not lever. I guess they rhyme ever and lever, whilst we rhyme fever and lever. On that topic, another pronunciation that really grates me each time I hear it is niche, whereas we would say niche. Again, they're choosing to rhyme it with itch, whilst we would be more like, your nephew and your niche. Sorry, lame, I know, but that's not even today's joke. Now, whilst I'm on this though, I looked up the word niche, and it comes from Latin and later French words that mean nest or recess. And I thought that was a really cool visual for finding your niche, like a little crevice in a cliff face in which you build up your security, your house, your skill set. And part of its security is that it's your niche. Others cannot easily access it. So I don't know, I just thought that was kind of cool as a way of visualizing it. Anyway, on to building levers. So, if you've been following Joshua Latimer for any amount of time, you will have heard him talk a lot about building a lever for your business. Let's start by painting the visual and then defining the concept. So there's a box in your business and you put $1 into the top of the box and then you pull a lever on the side of this box and then $2 falls out the bottom, or $7 or $19, whatever. So there's kind of three elements to this idea. First, you have the return on investment, the ROI on your spend, which is how you are getting the $15 from the $1. Then you have the leverage, which gets you that ROI. I won't get into a nerdy explanation of levers, as I recently did that in the Frappe episode, but a lever gives you a mechanical advantage, right? So you are able to get outsized results relative to the effort expended, or I suppose, relative to the resources expended. The third element is the pulling of that lever, which is a manual action that needs to be taken. So ultimately, the ideal lever is built so that it has a great and predictable ROI due to good leverage, and it has someone other than you assigned to put the money in and pull the lever. So how can that be built? Like, really, practically, how can this happen? Well, there's a few things that I've struggled with myself and have also heard from other small business owners which can really get in the way of building an effective lever, one that operates exactly as just described. So, there's maths aversion, maths addiction, expectations, clarity and commitment, and mental barriers and self-sabotage. So let's take these one at a time. Maths aversion. A lot of people don't like maths. My dad actually says that he has never been good at maths. Do you know what though? That's a choice, especially when it comes to the kind of maths that we're talking about here. My dad is a good example of this because his aversion to maths goes all the way back to primary school, which for him was in the early 1960s. My dad is the middle child of 3 brothers, and hearing their stories combined about what their early schooling was like is very illuminating. One of my uncles says that they didn't have teachers. They had sadistic tormentors who hated children that were entrusted with the care of children. The cane was used in class daily. Flinching away from the strike of the cane would earn you an additional caning. My oldest uncle had just started school. Maybe he'd been there for a year or two, but it was before my dad had begun school. Their grandfather, so my great-grandfather, had served in World War I and got mustard gassed. He'd had a lot of health issues and was living with them so that the family could look after him. My grandmother went to the school to let the teacher know that he had died. The teacher passed this news on to my uncle by saying, "Your grandfather's dead. Get back to work." So when my dad says that he was never any good at maths at school and has never liked maths and isn't good at maths, a lot of that has to do with this. And maybe that's true for you too. Your story might not be the same. I certainly hope that it isn't. But Maybe you didn't enjoy maths, you fell behind, you would rather be playing football in the yard, you had embarrassing experiences around maths at school when you couldn't answer questions that all of the other kids seemed to know. You got poor grades and over time it melded with your identity and now you just are bad at maths. You don't have to be bad at maths, and heck, for this, you don't even have to be good at maths. I remember being told at school that we would need to learn maths without a calculator because you wouldn't always have a calculator on you. Wrong. So, the maths that is required to build this magical lever that we're talking about is really just some basic addition, multiplication, and division. You don't even have to do any of it. You can get the device you're listening on this to now to do it for you. But if you have an aversion to maths, don't let some outdated, unhelpful, false belief about your identity prevent you from building a magical lever or three. Just one of these could change your entire business, your entire life. Don't let Mrs. McCluskey from grade 3 take that away from you. So next is the opposite problem, maths addiction. Now, I have struggled with this one, and it's not because I love maths so much, but it's because of the trap of overcomplicating things. To explain this, let me just get a little bit clearer on the definition of this magical lever that we're talking about. A lever in this context is any action that you can proactively take in your business to generate a predictable financial result, most commonly in the form of acquiring new customers that buy from you. So this could be door knocking, social media posting, putting an ad in the local paper or on the radio. Let's take flyers as an example of the problem of maths addiction. Let's say that you distribute 3,000 flyers and that this results in 19 inquiries and that results in 11 bookings with a total booked value of $9,342. Now, it cost you $1,294 to purchase and distribute the flyers. So you divide 9,342 by 1,294 and you find that you had just over a 7x ROI from that campaign. Great, but this is a really small sample size and those results haven't been repeated enough to get you a predictable outcome. So you run another campaign, this time of 10,000 flyers. Here's where maths addiction gets in the way. There are now so many variables. Maybe you used a different flyer design. Maybe you hit different areas, or in this example, you hit the same area plus an additional 7,000 houses in different areas. Maybe your flyers arrived on a sunny day the first time and on a rainy day the second time. Maybe some people called from the second flyer because of the first flyer. Brand recognition, a very real thing. In fact, probably flyers number 4 through 6 in the sequence will perform even better. But you can't really separate their results from the previous ones in the sequence. Was it the new design that prompted people to call, or was it the fact that they had seen your previous flyers? Timing. Maybe your second campaign hit closer to a natural increase in demand, such as when people are thinking about spring cleaning. I've mentioned the design a couple of times, but even within that, there's nearly an infinite amount of variables between two designs. It's not just that the last one was green and this one is orange. Maybe the call to action was better on one than the other, or the images did a better job of grabbing their attention. Maybe your first flyer had a more compelling offer than the second one. This goes on and on and on. And if you're in charge of an advertising budget of $250 million, you would be able to get answers to most of these questions. But you're not. Unless you are. If you are, hi, join my school group via warplan.au. I'd love to chat with you. Anyway, you're probably not. Your small business cannot advertise at the scale required to get answers to all of those questions. So maths addiction needs to be overcome. You cannot wait until you have the answers to all of those questions to have a successful lever because you cannot get the answers to these questions. So, what can you do? It's the KISS principle combined with the Pareto principle. KISS is keep it simple, stupid, and the Pareto principle is also known as the 80-20 rule. 80% of the results will come from 20% of the effort. Imagine that your lever was 80% accurate. You put in $1 and you got out $15, give or take 20%, so $12 to $18. Would you be happy with that arrangement? Sounds pretty good to me. So track the numbers, look for patterns. I mean, you can track and look for all of the factors above if you like, and you can optimize for those little things, but give precedence to the key numbers of dollars spent and dollars gained. That's it. Maybe there's 13,847 other contributing factors that could be tracked and measured, but they will probably balance out over time anyway. just focus on the basics. The next two elements are really crucial in getting this off the ground too. So next up, we have expectations. I worked with Nick DeMark as a business coach for about 18 months, maybe 2 years. His default answer to any question was test and measure. It's a good catchphrase. It's often the correct answer. And it takes questions out of the realm of I think that or I feel like and forces them to be backed up with data. However, there is an inherent premise with that kind of statement. Test and measure. It presupposes that you have done enough of the thing. You need a large enough sample size. You can test and measure 3,000 flyers or 150 doors knocked or 2 months of spending $3,000 on radio ads. But that's a start, yet it's not a sufficient data set on which to get predictable future results. So, what is a sufficient data set? Great question. How long is a piece of string? The more data that you have, the more sufficient it will be. But I would say that as a rule of thumb, a minimum commitment of 3 months of testing with at least fortnightly repetition and a minimum spend of $10,000 or 200 hours. This is very broad because I'm aiming to provide a guideline for any conceivable lever that you could build, just to frame it in terms of where to start shooting for. So let me break this down a little. Minimum 3-month commitment. I think that this is key for 2 reasons. Firstly, it marries you to one course, one method, one thing that you are trying to make succeed for at least 3 months. 6 months would be better, but 3 months is enough to account for at least some variety of the seasonality and timing of your offer in your market and just to level out results that may be anomalously good or anomalously bad. The other reason that I think that 3 months is important is that it constrains the resources into a compact time span. Spending $10,000 or 200 hours working out the effectiveness of an advertising strategy over 2 years is not the same as doing it over 3 months. You would get to the end of the 2 years and not have as high a quality of data as you would have had by committing to compressing that to within 3 months. Next is the fortnightly repetitions. For my American friends, a fortnight is 2 weeks. So fortnightly is every 2 weeks, which I believe you call bi-weekly, but that could also be twice per week, and so it confuses me, so we're running with fortnightly. So, fortnightly repetitions does depend on the medium of advertising. For example, if it's radio ads, they're going to be running continually during the period that you have paid for them. But if it's something that you can directly do or not do, like door knocking, or something that you can switch on and off, like Facebook ads, then the fortnightly repetitions come into play to bring consistency to this 3-month proving period. As with the constraint of 3 months, having the entire ad spend done in 1 week is not going to give you the same usable data as if you spread the efforts consistently across the 3-month period. Okay, lastly, the minimum spend of $10,000 or 200 hours, depending on whether it involves spending time, as with door knocking if you do it yourself, or money if you pay someone else to knock the doors or you are running Google ads, etc. So first off with this is not to say that you will not make more than you spend during the testing stage. But you can't build a lever without consistency, time, and resource spend. You won't know predictably what the results are likely to be without having invested in those elements. So this shouldn't be viewed as $10,000 or 200 hours just utterly wasted before the ROI begins. The ROI is what you are trying to measure. It is completely possible that you get 0 ROI. It's not likely, but it is possible. That's why before you have this data, before you've built your lever, any advertising that you do is experimental. Only after proven, repeated testing does it move from being an experiment to being a predictable, repeatable cause and effect system. Quick side note and story on this topic. I recently had a call with someone who was interested in growing his business, and we chatted about a few really key basic things that would help to establish his own sources of lead flow for free. He was getting his current work through a franchise, but wanted to go out on his own. He didn't have a Google business profile, a Facebook page for his business, or really any digital presence outside of that which belonged to the franchise. I was explaining to him about grabbing this low-hanging fruit, the free stuff, which can very quickly put you on the map. In the case of the Google business profile, literally put you on the map. He had a misunderstanding about what I do, and he thought that I was running a marketing agency. He wanted to know how much it would cost for me to run campaigns for him to get leads. That's crazy. That's like climbing to the top rickety branches of the tree, swaying in the wind with the thin branches creaking under your weight as you try and get the mangoes from up there when the whole tree is loaded with mangoes and you climbed past 192 of them on your way up. He shouldn't have even been looking to book a call like that when the cost is likely to be $1,000 to $3,000 per month, and he could be doing some really basic stuff to take care of the problem of lead flow himself. Now, why am I telling you that story? Because this idea of lever building empowers you to take action and accountability in your own business. I'm not saying that there are no good marketing agencies out there. There are. But don't look to outsource the solution to a problem like this before addressing the low-hanging fruit. Be your own marketing agency first. Sign yourself up to a 3 to 6 month minimum contract with yourself and execute a specific plan. I've mentioned a few different mediums for advertising so far. Door knocking, radio, Google ads, flyers, organic social media, paid Facebook ads, and even the local paper. You probably have an adverse reaction to hearing some of these. Heck, maybe all of them. You might think, no one reads the paper anymore, that's a waste of money. Or flyers, people don't even look at them. They just grab them with a handful of other junk mail and put them straight in the bin. Guess what? You're right, people do chuck their junk mail straight in the bin. Newspaper readership is nowhere near what it once was. Every single form of advertising can be a colossal waste of time and money. Conversely, just about every form of advertising can also be a lever that gives you a predictable, repeatable ROI. Grab a copy of your local paper. You will likely find ads in there from businesses similar to yours who were advertising there 3 months ago and who will be advertising there 6 months from now. Likewise on the radio or with flyers or Google ads, etc. Are they just not tracking what they're doing and simply donating money to the paper or to Google for free? Maybe some of them are. But that's not the reason why it's predictable wherever you are that such advertising is being paid for. People spend money on it because it works. It can all work. You just don't know how to make it all work. And that's fine. Joshua Latimer recently mentioned that he knows of a couple of pest control companies that scaled to over $10 million annually with just one single lever. You only need to figure out one. You don't need to master Google and Facebook and flyers and radio and skywriting and billboards and cold calling and on and on and on. You just need one. Maybe 2 or 3 would be nice, but start with one. To round out the topic of expectations, it might be helpful to imagine that the box with the lever that you put the dollar in the top and the $15 comes out the bottom. Imagine that it costs $50,000. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it costs even more. But let's just say that it costs $50,000. Do you want one? It would be a poor financial decision to turn that offer down. So, can you commit yourself to a 3 to 6 month project involving consistent effort and a minimum spend of $10,000 or 200 hours? Will it be difficult? Yeah. Is it going to be worth it to get the box? Absolutely. Alright, next we have clarity and commitment. We kind of already touched on commitment, but it really overlaps with this point. As I was saying that last little bit about would it be worth it and can you commit to the 3 to 6 months, etc., how confident did you feel about this path? If you feel insanely confident, high five, that's awesome, go and do it. But maybe you've thought, okay, I only need to focus on one medium of advertising, I need to commit to that for this amount of time, I need to do this and spend that. I think Facebook ads is going to be where I put my time and money on this. But maybe there's a voice in the back of your head that says, is this really going to work? I mean, Facebook, for me, I'm not sure. I've heard that ad costs have gone up and that reach has gone down and maybe I'll try it for a little while. If you have full clarity that the exact path set before you will work, then it is a lot easier to commit fully to that path. If you think that the path may work, but you need to stick it out for at least 3 months to find out, that's really tough because maybe after 5 weeks it isn't working and so you decide, no, that was stupid. Facebook, it wasn't for me. Maybe I'll try flyers instead. And then you do that for a month and it doesn't work. And then you try skywriting the next month because you're a bit crazy, but it's also really cool and hey, why not? And then that doesn't work. And instead of having solid data after 3 months, you have 3 individual months of starting something but not seeing it through. You've done just enough for it to not work. Then you've labeled it in your mind as that doesn't work, or it might work for you, but it doesn't work for me, or not in my market, not in this economy, not for my type of business. If you would like some additional clarity to help you commit to your marketing agency contract with yourself, there's a link in the show notes where you can book a free clarity call with me. Let's talk about your plan and get clear on your next moves. This element of clarity, feeding commitment, really ties in well with the last issue that I listed: mental barriers and self-sabotage. Do you know that there are people who, if they had this box in their business where they could put $1 in the top and $15 would come out the bottom, some people wouldn't put money in the top. Some people would put money in, but just a little bit. Isn't that weird? Some people do have this in their business and they don't put money in the top of it. And then because of that, money doesn't come out of the bottom. Maybe you're one of those people. Maybe you're not. Maybe you think that you're not, but something deep within you says otherwise. I don't know. But this is a real phenomenon. There are people who say that they want to get in shape and never do. I'm actively trying to not be one of them. Right now, I'm on day 54 of a 90-day challenge that I'm doing for myself to change my relationship with food, exercise, and work. But I've been heavier than I would like for most of my life. Realistically, there's not a lot to know about how to lose weight. Expend more energy than you consume, and you will lose weight. Everyone knows that. You can get into nutrition and the quality of what you're eating, which definitely matters. And you can get into the specific fitness regimes and the quality and timing of your workouts, and all of that can certainly improve your results. But at the end of the day, eat less, move more. Yet there is an endless amount of businesses and products based around diet and fitness, and there is still more demand left in the market. Because even with the keys, some people won't drive the Ferrari. There can be a ton of contributing factors towards this. But ultimately, as Myron Golden says, the only reason that people do the things that they do is because they feel like it. They feel like it. It's the same reason that whilst David Goggins is pushing himself to his physical limits, training his body and his mind, Joe Blow down the road is 39, living in his mum's basement, opening his third pack of Doritos and losing at World of Warcraft. They both feel like it. This is what they feel like doing. So to start with, you've just got to take the action. Make the commitment, and then the resistance will manifest itself. Once the resistance shows itself, you can start to identify what it is guarding and maybe even why. Today's quote is from Lou Holtz, who was an NFL coach. He said that winners embrace hard work. They love the discipline of it, the trade-off they're making to win. Losers, on the other hand, see it as punishment, and that's the difference. As you undertake to make or improve a lever in your business, remember that massive imperfect action will drive great results. All of your actions are imperfect, so don't worry about the paralysis of perfection. Move past it and just do more. You'll either win or you'll learn. The bigger the action, the bigger the win, or the bigger the lesson. Commit to the path, stay consistent, and fulfill your own marketing agency contract to yourself. Remember that one lever can take your business to 8 figures. And remember that the things that are in your way are probably in between your ears. There's an episode of Friends where Joey says something stupid and Chandler says, "You have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance." Well, in this case, when you commit to your 3 to 6 month minimum, you need to lean into that resistance when it shows itself. Push against it, move forward in spite of it. I heard 2 good Irish jokes this week, so I thought I'd string them together for today's lame dad joke. So, there was an Irishman that could never seem to stay put for very long. He was always bouncing around from one place to the next. His name was Rick O'Shea. Anyway, he found himself in trouble with the law and on trial for armed robbery. After months of proceedings and deliberations, the jury finally announced a verdict of not guilty. Rick O'Shea was bouncing off the walls as he shouted, "That's grand. Does that mean that I can keep the money?" The challenge for today is to call your shot. Which lever are you committing to figuring out over the next 3 to 6 months? Go to warplan.au and then call your shot in our school group. I want to hear what you've decided to tackle, and you can get support from the group along the way so that you don't stop the Q-tip when there's resistance. Or something. You know what I mean. That's it. Have an awesome day. Make someone else's day awesome. Hug and kiss the people you should hug and kiss. Catch ya. Bye. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Are you sniffing what I'm stepping in? If you're looking for a really valuable community centered around building your business, being really intentional with your spouse and kids, and if you think you can tolerate my terrible dad jokes, then join Family-Oriented Business Growers. It's awesome. There's self-paced challenges designed to help you solve key pain points within your business in short, intentional sprints. There's awesome people in there doing awesome things who have experience with stuff that can help you, having stood where you stand. You'll benefit from what's in there, we'll benefit from having you in there, you legend you, and best of all, it's totally free and also free of toxic shenanigans because we don't tolerate none of that. The mission of the group is to help 250 family-oriented home service business owners reclaim 5 hours per week for what matters most whilst growing their business this year. So jump in there and get amongst it. Join via warplan.au, that's warplan.au. Oh no. He's early. Warplan.au, catch you in there.